What's up, comic book peeps? I am your host, Lawrence, over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and like always, welcome back to the show. Today is everybody's favorite video, the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown, where I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down for you guys, letting you know which books I'm buying at which prices, or which I'm staying away from. But before we get started in the video, like always, I remind you guys, we're almost at 8,000 subs. If you're not a sub yet, do yourself a favor, hit that sub button. Do me a huge solid, smash that like button for me because it does really help the channel out. With that said, you guys always know my partners are always looking for collections to buy. So if you have something awesome, do me a favor, hit me up on my email. It's in the description of every video. Now with that out of the way, let's get into this week's breakdown. Sliding all the way down the list, finally to the number 10 spot this week is a copy of New Mutants 98 and the first appearance of your favorite Merc with a Mouth, Deadpool.
And yes, your underwear is getting tighter. That guy knows what I'm talking about. His clothes say middle management, but his eyes say fucky.
And last week we had a CGC 9.6, sold for $550, up 6% over the average. I think this book is finally about ready to get off this list. I cannot wait. It has been at least a year since we've had this one appear on the list. Now with that said, you guys know I only own this book in a 9.8 or a 9.9, and I don't want to break the bank. Right now the book is still hovering around $1,000 for a 9.8. I want to see if it comes down to around $750, and then I'm going to think about picking this book up for the long term. But right now, I'm staying away. It was only a matter of time before seeing this one on the list. At number 9 this week is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 251 and this classic cover by the great Mark Silvestri. We all know why this book is on this list. We saw this scene in Deadpool and Wolverine, an absolute classic. And last week we had a CGC 9.6, sold for $258, up a crazy 22% over the average. We also had a CGC 8.5 sale of $158, up a super crazy 177% over that average. I was just at Terrificon this past weekend and I saw a couple of copies of this book for $25 and $20. If you're spending over that amount, you're absolutely out of your freaking mind. Stay away from this one. I love the cover, but not the price, unless you could find it for a deal. Dropping to number 8 this week is a copy of Hulk number 1 and the first cover appearance of the Red Hulk, General Thunderbolt Ross. And last week we had a CGC 9.8, sold for $375, up a crazy 41% over the average. The first 3 books on this list so far this week are all speculation and all way overpriced. To me, I told you last week and the week prior, I'd be a seller of this book right here, not a buyer. Stay away from this book right now. Let's wait till after the movie comes out to see if it drops, if you want to hold it for the long term. Back on the list at number 7 this week is a copy of Fantastic Four Annual number 2 and the continuation of the origin of Dr. Doom. And last week we had a CGC 7.5, sold for $1,091, up 19% over the average. Then we had a CGC 5.5 sale of only $510, but up 23% over that average. You guys know I say it all the time. I want to own FF number 5, the first appearance of Dr. Doom. Then after that, I want to own ASM number 5, that crossover between Spider-Man and Dr. Doom. Then it's a crapshoot. There's other books I really want to own in my collection, and I don't want to spend $500 to $1,000 on this book. If I could find a really nice copy for a decent price, I'd be all over it. But right now, I'm staying away. At number 6 this week was one of my favorite Jack Kirby covers. It is a copy of Fantastic Four number 57 and this iconic cover by the King, Jack Kirby. And last week we had a CGC 8.0, sold for an insane $350, up 9% over the average. Then we had a CGC 6.0 sale of $195, up 17% over the average. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I just sold a raw copy out of my collection for around $50 and roughly around the same grade. So to me, if you're spending more than that on these books right now, I think you're getting taken advantage of. You guys know I just went to Terrificon and I found a lot of these books for cheap. So please do your diligence and only buy if you're planning on keeping these books for the long term, or you get a streaming deal. Dropping from the top spot all the way to number 5 this week is a copy of Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8 and the origin of the Black Symbiote costume.
This is something else.
And last week we had a CGC 9.6 sell for $300, up 16% over the average. You guys know I absolutely love this book, and it definitely must be owned. The one thing I'm going to say to you guys is this book is a dime a dozen, and you can be had for around $100 to $150 in pretty decent grade. I do not want to spend 1 red cent over that amount to own this book. Just way too many copies, but it is a must own if you do not own it, if you're a massive Spider-Man fan like this guy. Coming in at number 4 this week is a copy of Iron Man number 1, and the first ongoing title featuring Iron Man. This is also the origin of Iron Man. And last week we had another CGC 9.0 sell for $2,401, but up only 1% over that average. Then we had a CGC 6.5 sale of $840, up 27% over the average. Then we also had a CGC 2.0, a lowly 2.0, sell for $315, up 8% over the average. I've been telling you guys this for the better part of 4 years, that this book is super undervalued. But why is it undervalued? And why is this book still so cheap in mid to low grade? I can't answer that question. A phenomenal book I want to own, but I'm not breaking the bank to own it. I always say between a 4.0 and a 5.0 is really what I want to own. That's a sweet spot between $400 and $500. Other than that, I'd probably be staying away. But to me, if you can get that deal, I'd be all over it. At number 3 this week is a copy of X-Men number 94 and the first appearance of the new X-Men team in the main title. And we just had a CGC 8.5 sell for $1,173, up 10% over that average. Then we had a CGC 4.5 sale of only $370, up again 10% over the average. This is a book I definitely want to own. I'd rather own Giant Size X-Men 1 or hell, X-Men number 1 from the Silver Age. But if you can't afford those 2 books, this is the next best thing. And yes, I'd like to own this book at the right price. Because it is a Bronze Age key, I like to own a higher grade. For me personally, I want to own this book around an 8.0 or higher. But for you, if you just want to own the book, snatch the grade that you want in your collection for the long term and call it a day. At number 2 this week is some more Silver Age goodness. It is a copy of Silver Surfer number 1 and the first solo title featuring the Silver Surfer and his origin story. And we just had a CGC 9.0 sell for a whopping $3,799, up 3% over that average. Then we had a CGC 4.0 sale of only $512, but up 26% over the average. That 4 to 5.0 range for a lot of these Silver Age keys, that I always say is the sweet spot, and to me, that's the one I want to own. But I will say this for Silver Surfer 1, it is super hard to get this book in high grade. That 9.0 is a hell of a lot of money to spend on this one, but I know it may be worth it for someone out there knowing how many high grade copies are it. To me, yes, I want to own this book if I can get it for the right deal. If not, then I'd be staying away. Finally, we have a new number 1 this week. It is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 340 and this classic cover by Todd McFarlane. Of course, we all know why this book is on this list. There you have it, this classic scene from Deadpool and Wolverine. And last week we had a CGC 9.6 sell for $400, up 18% over that average. Then we had a CGC 9.2 sale for $275, but up a crazy 35% over the average. This book is very common. I just sold a newsstand copy of mine for $175 and around the same grade. So do your due diligence, find the right copy that is right for you. But yes, I do want to own this book. Just please do not overpay for this one. There are a lot of copies out there. So hope you guys enjoyed this list. Again, a lot of the same books appearing on this list week to week, but we have some new ones sprinkled in, which I'm excited about. It is now time for my best buy of the week, and this is a toss-up between Silver Surfer number 1 or Uncanny X-Men number 94. Both are great keys. In my opinion, I'm always going to go silver over bronze, but because right now X-Men number 94 is going for a little bit of a discount, that's the one I'm going to go with, especially if you're a huge X-Men fan. But either one I'd be buying if you can afford it right now for the right money, if you can. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.